Okay, here I want to talk about the big arrow function in JavaScript. What is it? What does it mean? Why is it useful? Now, I can probably already tell you that I'm going to have to do multiple videos on this, but at least I want to do one video with the basics, right? Just introducing the big idea, and then maybe later I'll introduce some of those details in different variations of this big arrow function. So what's a big arrow function? Well, before I get into that, I want to show you what is a regular function, because that's what it tries to replace. So function, let's just say hello, and let's just return the integer 24. Well, this is a function called say hello. We can actually make it a little bit, maybe not so big. So maybe what we could do is we can just say, hey, console log, just say hello. And we can see that that's going to print out, hopefully, the integer 24. And it does. It does do that. So let's take this regular function and make a arrow function out of it. Well, really, that's going to say hello. Why don't we say hello 2, and go ahead and return 24. And then here, let's go ahead and I'm sorry, this is not what I wanted to do. It's say hello equals, and then we'll do a big arrow function like this. This is what I wanted to show you. Sorry about that. I was just looking at this and typing away. So here what we're seeing is this is a big arrow function, and we're assigning it to say hello to. That's going to be the variable. So what are the things that, what are some of the benefits? Well, there's really two, and that's what I wanted to highlight here. One is the obvious, which is we're not having to type function, right? The keyword function, we don't happen to type it, so we're saving some typing. And as developers, that's kind of what we're told. We're kind of, lazy in that regards, and we love just not having to type more things than what we have to. So here we can see that it's exactly returning the same integer, 24. This is the big arrow function, and this is just a regular function. Again, most of the time, you'll probably see these without the assignment of the variable. You'll see these as anonymous functions, and they'll get placed in line, and that way they won't have a name associated with them. You could, as you can see here, but a lot of times you won't. And so I just want to show you that that is one way that you'll see it, which is just without the name of the variable here, without some reference to it. So that's the big arrow function. That's one benefit, which again, I don't really see it as a huge benefit, but a lot of people do, which is you don't have to type function, the function keyword, right? More importantly, the second part that I wanted to highlight in this video, just to keep it short, and again, I'll go into more details later, but I think the big two big concepts here are, one, the function keyword, and two, the most important in my book, in my opinion, is going to be the following, which is, imagine you have some object, let's just call it my object. And we know in JavaScript an object is just a curly brace like this with key value pairs. And let's just say that we have an age of, let's say, 24, integer 24. And then we have a get older function. And that function is going to basically be a function that, let's say get old, something like that. And what is that going to do? Well, let's return, or let's console log this dot age times, times 4, or let's say times 2 to keep it simple. What does that mean? That means that we're going to get older by taking our current age. This is this dot age in this object, and return it by 24, multiply times 24, and that's what this get older key is going to do. It's going to be a reference to this function, and this function itself does this, right? So far, so good. The thing is that, well, let's run this. Let's see what happens when we run it. And we'll do console log Actually, we don't even have to do a console log. Let's just say my object dot get older, and let's invoke that, and let's run this. We can see that happens as 48, right? So that's actually not what I want to show so much. This is just building the problem so that you can see what happens. The problem is that if you have like a set timeout function here like this, where we know set timeout, it's gonna take in a function and call it old, whatever, old, and we're gonna then do this in there. We're gonna then do this in there. And here what we have to do is, let's say every 2 seconds. This is milliseconds, but let's just, that's basically 2000 milliseconds is going to be 2 seconds. And so this set timeout, and I'll have a video on that, so look for that. If you're not aware of set timeout, review that video. Set timeout gives you a different this, and this is the big idea of this video. The this keyword, the context of this, it's going to change with set timeout because it's going to now be a new scope with set timeout. And so let's just run this and see what happens. This should be undefined instead of 48 and not a number. We'll get some issue here. What I want to show you is that since this is a new context, a new this keyword that's going to be introduced, well, that's where the big arrow function comes into play here, and it's super useful. And in fact, we see this in a lot of places like the modern JavaScript frameworks like React and Angular and Vue and so on and so forth. You'll see this all over the place, and I think that's why it's really important to know what's happening. What is it doing? It's not just the function keyword goes away. It's really this context, right? The scope changes. So if we take this and we don't do this old function like this, right? But we do it like this. We do it like that, and let's just format this a little bit cleaner. So we get it like this. So now we don't have that function keyword, right? This is a big arrow function, and we're going to keep the same thing. Well, let's run it and see if we get away from that not a number issue. And you can see that it is 48 now. It's taking this age, which is 24, multiplied times 2, it's 48. This gets us what we want, and that is the big idea in my book. With the big arrow function, it does two things. Of course, you don't have to type the function keyword. Sure, that's great, but I think more importantly is this idea to remember that you'll see this all over the place in other tutorials and documentation and so on and so forth. But it's important to see, why do we have to? Why is this even useful? Remember that you could have done something like this. By the way, you could have done something like, if we do this function like this. 2000, right? And if we run this, by the way, we'll see that we'll get not a number again, right? Here. But you could have fixed this. You could have said something like, this, like my context equals this. You know what? Or we could just have it like this. Right within here, we could say something like, let my context equals this. And then here what we could say is my age, my context.age times 2. This should get rid of the not a number. Let's just prove it to ourselves. And it does get rid of it. So this, of course, we can do this with plain JavaScript, not introducing the big arrow function, but you know that in software engineering and software development, the less things we have to manage, the better off we'll be. And here, by removing this and having the big arrow function, we're removing one less thing that we have to manage, and we don't need to do that management. So that is the big idea here for doing something like this. And if we run this, you can see that we get the same thing. My context, I'm calling my context here, but we know it's something like this that we need to do. and this again will get 48, or we should get 48, and we do, and we don't have to manage that variable. I'm hoping this makes sense. Keep a lookout for other videos about the details, or more details about the big arrow function, but I think this is suffice.